Criminal.
I'm ready.
Okay. I hope you're ready because we're live.
Okay. Are we live?
I think so.
Oh,
It's still
so
catching up. Yep. There we go.
Whoa. Where are we?
Where are we? We're in Beverly Hills, ladies and gentlemen. We've upped our set design thanks to all of you amazing people out there. Sober Guide has completely picked up, and we moved our studio outside of Beverly Hills.
The truth of the matter is that we came outside because I wanted to work on my tan a little bit since it's been so warm lately.
Talking about tan, look at the two of us on here. I'm a piece of paper. I need a tan.
How's everybody doing today?
I hope everyone is good. We have an awesome topic for you today about... Do you want to explain it?
Yes, the disease of addiction and alcoholism does not discriminate.
Yeah. So with the recent unfortunate deaths of both Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, we really wanted to talk about this stuff and how addiction affects everyone, whether you're rich, you're poor, you're seemingly successful on the camera constantly. It doesn't matter. It affects everyone. So we would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this as well. So make sure you leave us a comment in the section below, and we will interact with you, give you any feedback, or give you any answers to help that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Pej, do you want to jump in? Why do you think that celebrities or seemingly successful people are affected by addiction?
Well, I mean, for one, obviously, celebrities are human beings too, and just because of their stature or their status and who they've become in their lives doesn't mean that they're not going to get caught up in the world of addiction and alcoholism. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's obvious. Hollywood parties and all the different places that they go and what they do, it's all based around a party. Like when they do it, when they finish filming and it's a wrap, where do they go? They all go celebrate.
Yeah, after party.
After party, and then the after party after the after party, and it's not like it's in a dumpy place. It's usually in a high end Hollywood Hills home, Beverly Hills home, lots of different parties with lots of drinking and of course a lot of drugs.
That's an interesting thing that you bring up. It almost glamorizes drug use. I mean,
I wouldn't doubt it for 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, looking at movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Those Hollywood parties in there where everyone's doing cocaine and drinking and all kind. They're doing like Quaaludes in that movie. And
they make it look really cool.
They make it look interesting, which is.
And okay, I mean, let's take a look at like all the different celebrities over the years. There's been so many that have died from addiction or drug-related incidents that happened. For example, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of my favorite actors.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah. There was Janis Joplin. There's Jim Morrison. There's so many different people that have somehow Prince. And that's something that there was not a lot of people. Joplin. There's Jim Morrison. A lot of
the list goes on.
Amy Winehouse. We knew she wasn't well. So what happens? What is it that makes these people, obviously because they're high profile and everybody knows who they are, it becomes publicized more and it gets talked about. But even then, we lose them. It gets talked about for a short amount of time and then it's kind of forgotten. Like not a lot of people really talk about Elvis dying from drugs or Michael Jackson. And it's best to remember them for their accomplishments and who they were. But let's look at the reality of things. The reality is that they still were actively abusing and using drugs and alcohol and end up dying because of it. It's a very sad thing.
Yeah.
And when we talked about this earlier today, the reason that we even came up with this topic is because obviously celebrities die from it, but it can be anybody, right? So what I've noticed, it can be, the poorest people in Skid Row.
Or the executives of
Fortune
500 companies.
And drugs are drugs. Like, no matter how you look at it, some people think that some are worse than others. If you have an addiction, your addiction can expand and go in all different areas.
Yeah.
Addiction comes in many different forms, shapes, styles, So it's very sad. I know that I have some friends that are celebrities, and they're in recovery, and it's really nice. Like, back in the day, I remember when I was in the 80s, cocaine was really big, right? And I remember there was a movie called Less Than Zero. And
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's Robert Downey Jr. was in that movie. So he played his role perfectly. I mean, it was a captivating performance. You watched it, you just felt like he's a full-blown addict, right? Role perfectly. I mean, he ended up kind of living that lifestyle after captivating performance. After he kind of became his character in that movie, and that's what's sad. Sometimes people can really present themselves and play the role really well, but actually they might actually be playing it really well because they're living it too. And that's what's sad. Sometimes
what do you think is
people can really
the difference
present themselves
in resources
really
available
well, but actually,
and how that impacts
they might actually be playing
the success rate? So if someone is maybe not as wealthy or maybe doesn't have health insurance, the resources that are available to them versus highly successful people and or celebrities, what's the difference in resources that are available to them?
I mean, when it comes to recovery and how whatever resources are available, you'll find good people that are teaching recovery in many different arenas, in many different areas. Sometimes they don't have to always be in the best counselors. Don't always have to be in like the high-end Malibu homes, or Malibu treatment centers. Sometimes in a county facility, you may just find some guy that happens to be a counselor there that's the real deal and will tell you how it is and show you. And that's the thing about treatment. Treatment isn't designed to keep you sober. We are hoping that when people go to treatment, it opens a gate, a doorway into getting long-term sobriety. It's about breaking the resistance to obtaining long-term sobriety. It's about giving you the keys, the tools, working through the deep-rooted issues, the trauma, sexual trauma, different types of trauma, the triggers, all of that stuff. The point of that is so that you go to treatment, you break down your resistance to staying sober, you learn how to stay sober. They give you all the different tools, and then on top of that, when you leave treatment, you carry on and you get that long-term sobriety. That's the goal of treatment. Yeah,
that's great. I want to open this up to any questions before we jump in next. What's your opinion on this subject matter? Do you have any experiences or thoughts, or where are you just watching from? We'd love to see where in the world we're reaching out.
Yeah.
So let us know.
What's amazing to me is that, like, even some of the friends that I told you that are celebrities, like they were childhood stars, right? So we always know, the Todd Bridges and the many other types of childhood stars, the type of they're really big when they're kids.
Yeah,
they grow up and they may not get the parts that they used to get. They may not. They may have already gotten into drugs and alcohol at a very young age and experimented, and then it's become a full-blown addiction. And before you know it, nobody wants to hire them because they're not well. They're not a full human being. They're not even capable of acting. So they go down a dark path. And a lot of depression is endured, obviously. I believe that when we hear about these more recent type of stories, if they truly did die the way they did, you wonder when somebody's a celebrity and they have so many beautiful and wonderful, supposedly on the outside, it appears that they have so many beautiful and wonderful things going on, new projects, new products, different types of things that are coming out that they're putting out. Why would someone hang themselves? Why would they shoot themselves? Why would they kill? Why would they commit suicide? And I believe truly it's got to be, if they really are dying in that fashion, in that sense, it's got to be depression, and some of the very best comedians and performers that we've seen have suffered from depression. Robin Williams,
really sad recent one.
And one has to wonder, a person like him, he had 1 million personalities on camera, right? The guy was the funniest guy ever. I mean, he could make anybody laugh, right? He always made me laugh, and it takes a lot for a good comedian to make me laugh. But to hear that he was depressed, it's very sad. I think sometimes in a celebrity's lifestyle too, you can be, as much as there's so many people around you that want to be in your world, in your world can become very lonely because you always have that status that people expect you to live up to, and they all forget that you're actually a human being too. So you'll seclude yourself, you'll isolate yourself. Sometimes you'll become a full-on recluse and not really have communication with the outside world, and then it gets lonely. As much as you have all the different people that will answer to you, that become your yes men and do all that, it becomes lonely in that world.
So, I'd love to dive deeper into that. So, do you think there's a lot of stigma attached? Well, there is stigma attached, but if you were in such a powerful position like that, do you think they don't know how to reach out? They don't know what to do because they need to seem perfect. Do you think that plays any part?
It definitely plays a part. People can say that certain celebrities, they could have, should have, would have done certain things to get the help. But a lot of times I think that they're afraid that people will think less of them. Yeah. And it's very sad to say that sometimes some celebrities' egos will get the best of them because they're afraid to humble themselves to the point where they look like they are less than, or they are actually capable of suffering. Eminem is in recovery. He's very open about being in recovery. And in one of his albums, the recovery album, he talks about how much of how dark of a world he had, and he goes in depth about who he was, who he'd become, what he'd gotten into, how he kept slipping and falling and scraping his knee and getting back up, but in the end, like giving it his all. And that's what it takes, is to get out of your own way, to get over yourself, not to realize that really just because you are a public figure and everybody on earth knows who you are, you're still human, and you're very capable of still getting caught up. And pain meds or pain, opiates, opioids, any kind of drugs like that, they're highly addictive. Once you start, if you get into it and you develop a dependency, it's so hard to quit.
Yeah. Let's backtrack a little bit to a point that you brought up earlier in this episode, and maybe this is an entire episode that we can do again in the future, but talking about the youth in this aspect,
right?
Particularly child celebrities, and maybe children as well under the age of 18. I know a lot of treatment centers operate 18 plus,
right?
But we really haven't talked about the youth side of that, and I know there is a lot of youth addiction. Right. So, give us some insight on that, particularly how youth child stars kind of get into drug use and addiction, and what resources are available for young people that are struggling.
Well, I don't think that there's enough resources for adolescents at this time, not for the youth. There are more and more centers that are starting to sprout up that help specialize. If anybody ever needed help with an adolescent, I do know who the best of the best are. Okay. I refer to the very best. And
great.
I used to work with I used to actually work in an adolescent facility, so I've met some people.
Yeah.
But I will say that I believe that the kids that get caught up in this stuff, whether they be celebrities or not, a lot of kids grow up too fast. I mean, these days, let's be real. Most kids that are 10 years old are actually acting and functioning like a 18-year-old.
Sure.
They're much more advanced. They've got the internet. They've got all these different resources to where their brains are developing and moving at a much higher rate than, let's say, someone like me that was born in the 70s, right? So
I mean, my 3-year-old nephew knows how to work an iPhone More so than my mom does.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, kids are advanced.
Good point.
And that goes with experimentation too. They will try things, you know.
Yeah.
Curious kids are going to try drugs. I think a lot of the celebrity kids that get caught up in that world is because they grew up too fast. A lot is expected of them between acting classes, getting the role, getting the position, and then playing the role right, and being, you know, they have to act more maturely than what they
they miss out on an entire childhood.
They don't ever really
Right.
They don't ever really get to grow up.
Yeah.
So what happens, like in those Hollywood parties, I'm sure that just like Uncle Jimmy that likes to give his nephew Billy sips off of his beer. I think in that type of an environment, there would probably be some adults that would be like treating this kid as an adult too, because he's acting like an adult. And sometimes when you're loaded and you're an older person, an older individual, and you see, oh, that kid, yeah, he's the famous one. Here, you want to try some of this? It may start out with a little puff off some weed, with a little drinky drink, and then that could just expand into other things. Hey, we all got some cocaine. You want to try this too? Ah, you're 17. You're almost 18. You're a big boy, right? Things like that. A lot of my friends that are, you know, celebrities that were teens, that got all their parts. I got a few friends that were on major shows and in some major movies. They started at a very young age, and some of them straight up turned out homeless.
Wow.
In Skid Row, cracked out, heroined out.
So sad to hear.
So, and they were no different. I mean,
Yeah.
no different in that environment. If you saw them on the street, you wouldn't even know that they were that celebrity years before, because they've basically just deteriorated and they look like different people. Yeah.
Interesting. So, how about higher level executives? So, say you are not a celebrity, but you're doing very well.
Right.
Do you think there's still a lot of those feelings that you need to be superior and you can't show weakness associated with them as well? And maybe even, like, tell me about employee assistance programs and how that works and what resources are available to people that are a little higher up but are also struggling with addiction.
So, again, when people have a higher position, they're more of the elite variety. Again, we could call it ego. We could call them accomplished in life. We can call them people who are fully self-supporting and able to obtain things, do things, but when it comes to actually admitting that they have like a problem with alcoholism, like pilots, for example.
Yeah.
Do you think a pilot wants to go to any HR executive and say, I have a major drinking problem?
Yeah.
From what I've learned from a couple of friends that work in the airlines is that they're supposed to have on time and off time from drinking. So like if they're doing a lot of flying, let's say they do 12 hours of flying, right? There's supposed to be a break time. So if they like to go out and have some drinks, during the next 12 hours, that's their off time from any kind of,
Interesting.
Drinking activity. So, but an alcoholic,
right,
or a possible alcoholic might cheat and go into other times that are in the off time, in the on time. So, and then
that's a scary thought.
we've seen the movie Flight. You think that's fake? That's real.
Oof.
I mean, it was based off a true story from what I understand. And also, they made it because there's a lot of alcoholism and drug addiction that runs rampant in certain higher end positions. I think a lot of
very interesting.
A lot of executives, attorneys, people like that are in high power positions, they're not going to be your typical heroin addict, but they will experiment with cocaine. Cocaine and alcohol go hand in hand. One complements the other. One enhances the other, and vice versa. When you drink just alcohol, you're going to feel a certain way, but you throw some cocaine in the mix, and you can stay up all night long. And it's, often you will find high-powered executives that end up getting hotel rooms and staying in these elegant places and living that type of lifestyle, and they'll go out and party with friends, but the party just doesn't end, and before you know it, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't discriminate. They're just another addict. They're just another alcoholic. They have more money to play with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, I think that answered a lot of the questions that I could think of offhand. Is there anything else that you want to dive into that we haven't really covered?
Well, no, I think we covered everything. But if you guys have any other questions, we do have Ask an Addiction Specialist, which is a Facebook page. You can actually find the link down at the bottom there, or you can go up in your bar on Facebook and you can type in Ask an Addiction Specialist. You can come on there and ask any questions that are addiction or alcoholism related. We have various people that are professionals that can answer your questions. They're readily available, or we have people that are in the recovery community that come on and ask, whether it's for a loved one or for yourself. You can always feel free to come and ask us at Ask an Addiction Specialist. Also, we provide intervention services. If there's ever a family member, a friend, somebody that you can't handle and you can't help, and you feel like it's out of your hands and you need somebody more professional to come in and try to tailor some kind of a intervention plan, feel free to contact me. I'm connected with several interventionists. We can always send a woman out, a man out, depending on the person's criteria and what's going on with them, and see how we can help get them the proper help that they need. I think that's all. Yeah,
well said, Pej. If you learned something from this podcast, this is truly our mission, is to provide you with the most helpful content, both for you, for a loved one, and to better understand addiction, recovery, and the sober journey. So if you did learn something from this, we would very much appreciate if you could go to iTunes in the description of this video, give us a review, give us a 5-star review if you're feeling fancy. It helps us extend our reach and positively impact more people. The last thing that I want to bring up is that this podcast is sponsored by Beginnings Treatment Center, made possible by them. They are an amazing Orange County facility that handles all levels of care, from detox to residential to aftercare, amazing alumni program, family support, you name it. Check them out at beginningstreatment.com or give them a call at 800-387-6907. Pej, I think we covered a lot of ground today, my friend.
I think we did.
Sober Grind out.